The ground trembled under a furious barrage of artillery, and dawn broke with a roar across the battered Western Front. On August 8, 1918, Allied forces unleashed a thunderous surprise attack near Amiens, igniting the beginning of the 100 Days Offensive. Tanks rumbled forward like steel beasts, infantry surged through the mist, and aircraft filled the skies in a deadly ballet. After 4 brutal years of stalemate, the Allies had finally found the key to break the trench warfare deadlock, and the final, relentless march to end World War I had begun. Welcome to History in a Hurry. I'm Eli Stone, and in this episode, we will learn about the 100 Days Offensive during World War I. The 100 Days Offensive was a massive series of Allied attacks that decisively ended World War I. Beginning on August 8, 1918, and lasting until the Armistice on November 11th, it shattered German forces and drove them into a desperate retreat. Unlike the grinding, bloody battles earlier in the war, the 100 Days Offensive featured innovative tactics, coordinated attacks across fronts, and swift advances that overwhelmed German defenses. The offensive opened with the Battle of Amiens, a stunning success for the Allies. Led by British, Australian, Canadian, and French forces under the overall coordination of Marshal Ferdinand Foch, the Allies achieved complete tactical surprise. Over 500 tanks spearheaded the assault, rolling through German lines alongside cavalry and infantry, while aircraft bombarded retreating troops. German forces, caught off guard and demoralized, fell back in chaos. General Erich Ludendorff later called August 8th the Black Day of the German army due to the sheer scale of their defeat and the collapse of morale. From Amiens, the Allies launched a series of rapid offensives. Rather than bogging down in a single sector, they struck at multiple points along the Western Front, keeping German forces off balance. Canadian and Australian troops played key roles, smashing through the heavily defended Drocourt-Quéant line and capturing thousands of prisoners. Meanwhile, the British Fourth Army and the French First Army pushed forward toward the Hindenburg Line, Germany's last great defensive barrier. One of the most critical elements of the 100 Days was the Allies' newfound emphasis on combined arms tactics. Infantry, tanks, artillery, and aircraft worked together with unprecedented coordination. Artillery barrages were now more carefully targeted, tanks suppressed machine gun nests, and air power disrupted German supply lines and command posts. This approach contrasted sharply with earlier war tactics that had relied heavily on sheer numbers and resulted in horrendous losses for little gain. As the offensive continued, German resistance stiffened but could not stop the tide. The Hindenburg Line, once considered impregnable, began to crumble under the relentless pressure. Battles like the breaking of the Hindenburg Line in late September saw massive Allied assaults, where creeping barrages and tank-supported infantry overwhelmed entrenched German defenders. German soldiers, exhausted, undersupplied, and increasingly aware of the hopelessness of their situation, began surrendering in large numbers. The effects of the 100 Days Offensive were not confined to the battlefield. Back home, political and social unrest exploded in Germany. Mutinies broke out in the Navy, strikes paralyzed key industries, and calls for an end to the war grew louder. The German High Command, realizing that military defeat was inevitable, began seeking an armistice. Kaiser Wilhelm II's authority eroded rapidly, and revolutionary sentiments stirred among the German people. Meanwhile, the Allies continued to press their advantage. In October, Allied forces liberated Belgium and northeastern France, towns and villages that had been under German occupation for years. The psychological impact of these victories was immense, rejuvenating Allied morale and further undermining German resistance. American forces, now present in strength under General John J. Pershing, also played a crucial role, particularly during the Meuse-Argonne Offensive, which was one of the largest operations involving U.S. troops during the war. By early November, the German front was in full collapse. Soldiers deserted, entire units refused to fight, and the German leadership was forced into frantic negotiations. On November 9th, Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated and fled to the Netherlands. Just 2 days later, on November 11th, 1918, an armistice was signed, and the guns fell silent at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The 100 Days Offensive had brought an end to World War I, but at a tremendous cost. Over 1 million casualties were suffered by both sides in the final months. Nevertheless, it was a triumph of adaptability and determination by the Allies, demonstrating how innovations in warfare could break the grim cycle of trench stalemate. The offensive not only ended one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history, but also reshaped the political map of Europe and set the stage for the turbulent decades that followed. The thunder of that final great push across the trenches echoed far beyond the battlefields of France and Belgium, ushering in a new era and marking the end of an old world. Thanks for racing through history with us on History in a Hurry. If you enjoyed today's quick dive into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a fast-paced trip through time. Please reply in the comments with ideas for our next history lesson. See you in the next one.